I am back. Okay, you know how I was talking about how I love this artist's artwork, but the stories always make me want to pull my locks out? This Chef's Kiss, and it was a short. It was only 6 chapters, and they did very well. So this is I Adore You Teacher, and I had to read this on Post Type, which is a Korean website, but she had the English version there, so I had to go translate, and it was about like 5,000 won, and on PayPal it translated to like $3.28 for me, so I paid for all of it. And basically the like genres of this is it's like dom sub, professor, student, love triangle. So we have our first main character, and her name is Son Min, I believe. This is a GL manhwa, by the way. Okay, and Son Min is a tutor to the high school student Yujin. Yujin has a crush on So Min, but So Min does not take Yujin seriously, and she's like, I'm gonna get into your school, I'm gonna ask you out, and I'm gonna be with you. And So Min's like, yeah, okay. She goes to the restroom, and Yujin keeps noticing that So Min's phone keeps beeping, and she's like, okay, so who keeps talking to my future woman? And I think they still are kind of closer in age, so it's not, I don't think it's a creepy age gap, I don't know, like that. But what she sees on her phone, by the time So Min comes back into Eugene's room, has So Min like, oh, and they all pause. And Eugene is like cackling. She's like, this is what you're into? And what's on her phone is basically So Min showing her little bits to, anybody want to guess who she's texting? That's right. Chu Young Ha, her professor. And it's basically her doing explicit acts and sending it to her professor. And her professor and So Min are in this dom sub relationship, and Yujin is not having any of it. And she's like, I see. This makes So Min rush out, and she's been avoiding Yujin. Yujin did her due diligence, got her cookies up, and she was able to end up going to the same university as So Min. So now the triangle begins, and it is Yujin's goal to get So Min away from Professor. Professor, by the way, you guessed it, is married. So Min is messing with a married professor, and it's the anniversary. She wants to be with her, but she told you, So Min, I told you not to be so needy, be so obedient. And then I'm like, what the heck? Just grimy all around. So they have to go to, where they go to one of the Korean barbecue places, and it's like get a little get together and make the freshmen welcome. And that's where Yujin introduces herself to her rival, aka the professor, and she kind of like pretends like she's gonna flirt with the professor and everything like that to see where her intentions are. And the professor ain't shit, because the professor is just dragging along So Min, but she's actually getting tired of her. And this is how I love who Yujin is. She did pretend to be drunk, and then she called it off once she got into So Min's house, and they ended up like, but professor called her, and So Min jumped like a dog to leave her house to go and do the deed and activities, but the professor saw that she had a hickey, but she didn't know it was from Yujin. And So Min was like, I don't like sharing things with other people, my property. I'm like, you're married. First of all, you're a shitty person. First of all. So professor was gonna call it off with So Min because she saw that she was like having activities with other people, which led So Min to get on her knees and beg in tears not to leave her. And then Young Ha, the professor, is like, okay, I'm only gonna forgive you once. And then she walks out like, I'm tired of her. So Yujin makes it her goal, because she tells So Min, we can't do this anymore, we have to call it off, nothing. And then Yujin was like, yeah, I'm not giving up, I'm just gonna try harder. This leads to Yujin making a plan to seduce the professor, which professor falls for because the professor is a whore, and there are already rumors spreading about the professor and Yuhan doing stuff. So once she gets professor right where she has it, she starts taking photo evidence. Click. This is what I meant when I said where she loves it, because the professor is crappy, and the professor is like, what are you doing all this for? What do you even want? And then Eugene was like, I want So Min. And professor is like, that's all you want? I don't give a crap about her, she's clingy anyways, she's not even worth it. And Eugene was like, pause yourself real quick, because Eugene was like, I was gonna let this go, but you started insulting my future Boo. So I'm gonna have to expose you. So basically she starts screaming everything you hear, you bitch, blah 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 blah. The whole student body is like, what's going on in the professor's office? She runs out of the professor's office looking tattered, shattered, and crumbled. Dildos, ball gags flying anywhere. Mind you, the same dildo and ball gag that she used on so men. I hope she's sanitized. And it ends up with the professor on the floor begging, calling Yujin a bitch, a liar. And then she reaches out to Somin like, help me, Somin. And Somin was like, I used to admire you, I used to want you, but look how far you have fallen, and I pity you. And she was like, I don't know what you're doing, Professor, please stop. So everybody's like, oh, Somin, are you okay? The teacher is a pervert. And things like blew over a while, but she was over that. Whole time, Somin just wasn't feeling it anymore with Professor, and it took her first time with Yujin to actually realize this. So the tables have turned, and now the dom in the relationship is Yujin. And the thing is, Yujin was like, oh, I know what you like, so I studied hard on it. She went out of her way to understand the dom sub dynamic, learn it, train it, and then be it for Somin. And you could say it's just like a cycle ending again, a never ending cycle again. But I think like the thing was that Yujin never wanted to give up on Somin. She's always been determined, and you know, she says like, I adore you, teacher, but even though she's not her teacher, I'm like, roll the credits, that's the title. So you know what, I feel like they both got a happy ending, because I feel like the real villain in this was that professor. Go home to your wife, old lady. And that's essentially all 6 chapters. It wasn't short. I liked it, because usually no one gets happy endings in her stories. So I be reading it for the artwork, because I love the artwork. If you do want to read it, I'm pretty sure they do have it on some sites that are not of the legal origins, but I went the legal route, and I paid that $3.28 for those 6 chapters to read, and it was worth it, because the translations were good. They weren't like choppy or anything like that. I think there was one section where there was a text message, but the Korean was over the English, and maybe that was like they forgot to edit that a little better. But hey, tell me, would you read it if you do read GLs? Because you know, I read the BLs too. I read it all. I don't discriminate. I just love a good plot and some good art and a good bang.